Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh, and today is part 2 of the XRP Escrow series. So just to recap, in part 1, what we discussed was the FLR networks rewards pool that rewards F asset owners is algorithmically distributed to F asset holders in Spark. Now, we call that the escrow of the FLR network. But today, we're going to look at the actual XRP ledger's escrow and how that could be used as a rewards pool in the future. So there's been a lot of discussion about the XRP escrow. It gets released every month to Ripple. It's not held by Ripple. It's not held by PolySign. It's not held by anyone. It's held by the XRP ledger in a cryptographic locked escrow, similar to a smart contract. And it gets released to a multi-sig wallet, which then Ripple controls. We do not know how it gets distributed from there. Most likely, in my opinion, it's algorithmically controlled then to support ODL and their prior usage of it. But how will it be used in the future? And we have roughly, I believe at this time, it's roughly 45 billion XRP that is in the escrow. And they haven't even utilized the max release every month. So 1 billion gets released. Typically 800 to 700 million is put back into the escrow. But now in the future, with this SEC case coming up, there's a question of what's going to happen to the escrow. And a lot of people have talked about, well, Ripple can't hold it. It's just too much of the supply. And I do agree with that. But the talk has only been about, well, option 2, which is just to hand it over to another entity. Say it be the Fed, say it be the IMF, say it be the Treasury, say it be the BIS. Those things don't make sense to me because these are decentralized networks. These are not central. Ripple is not a central bank. Decentralized networks don't have central banks. They have decentralized treasuries. And this is where I could see the XRP escrow being used as a decentralized treasury. Now, in the FLR network, the governance, which is liquid democracy, manages the distribution of the general rewards pool. Now, let's go over to a diagram I made. Now, this one we talked about in the past. This shows the rewards structure on the FLR network. So you have an inflation mechanism, which is the FTSO's rewards pool. It's really not a pool. It just generates additional Spark tokens to the 100 billion supply. Now, it's going to be 10% in the first 6 months. It's going to be 10% of that 100 billion annually for the first 6 months. So this is roughly around 833 million. Roughly. We're not sure of the exact number, but it's going to be tremendously high. That's going to go just to people who delegate their Spark FTSO vote to a signal provider. Not even risk to their tokens at all for Spark. But then there's an actual dedicated rewards pool that's going to hold roughly 25 to 30 billion Spark tokens. Now, these are already part of the circulating supply. They're the whale pool, which is 7 billion Spark that didn't go to Ripple and the founders. Then there's 5 billion donated from the foundation. Then all unclaimed Spark by June 11th, 2021 will go into this general rewards pool. Now, this is going to be there's roughly about 20 billion unclaimed right now. Originally, they were going to be burned, but now they decided, let's put this in a general rewards pool. And this is like the escrow. It's getting algorithmically distributed at roughly 0.2% every day to F asset owners. So 2% of 30 billion, 0.2%, 0.2% of 30 billion Spark is a lot per day. And that would be dependent on how much F assets are minted. and then it would be the dollar value of your F assets. And that's where it uses the FLR time series oracle to manage that so that it can algorithmically distribute right out to the F asset owners and right to their wallets without any central intermediary. And that's a very powerful value proposition for the network. So unlike wrapped Bitcoin that's brought over to Ethereum and you got to pay the high gas fees, when you bring over FXRP or FBTC, you're going to get daily yield in Spark. And it's going to be very, very high, especially in the beginning. Now, Litecoin has its own pool for 5 billion Spark, as they were the second one. We don't need to go into detail on that. They'll receive the same amount daily as the general rewards pool. But let's shift back over to the XRP ledger. Now we have this 45 billion escrow. It's locked in cryptographic escrow, so it's always going to release that billion every month. But when it's released, it could be then algorithmically distributed just as on FLR, the general rewards pool is algorithmically distributed to F asset owners. But what can it be used for on the XRP ledger and its ecosystem? One of the main use cases for XRP has been liquidity. So how can this escrow be released to provide liquidity and to incentivize XRP holders? Now, I don't think it's just going to be distributed to every XRP holder just because they own XRP. I think there needs to be some type of incentive mechanism. So say it be they mint FXRP, put in a collateral deposition, mint a stable coin, bring it over to the XRP ledger. Maybe you'd be rewarded an XRP. But this escrow can be used to reward all types of behavior, and it can be multiple different things. So the value in the escrow is not in its monetary value that it's worth. It's in the seigniorage is what it is to incentivize the network's adoption, growth, robustness, and behavior of the network participants and the XRP owners. And there could be multiple different scenarios of how it could be set up. But these all make a lot more sense than Ripple just holding it and trying to sell it, or them handing it over to some other central entity who has nothing to do with the network. Those don't make any sense. What does make sense is the way FLR's doing it, being algorithmically distributed. And this is most likely how the escrow is going to be distributed ultimately. And I think Ripple has been working on concepts and distribution for years, but there really hasn't been the right mechanisms out there. I think PolySign does play a role in this, and possibly with smart programs doing the distribution of that actual XRP, because smart programs is what Codius was originally the vision for, to distribute. The code can actually hold the assets and then distribute them. And now they could be set up in an algorithmic way to distribute for certain behaviors. If you provide liquidity here, I don't know the exact details of how or what mechanism they would use, but there are plenty of different ways to use it. And this type of methodology makes a lot more sense than just handing over to the IMF. I just don't see that. But central banks are irrational, and traditional markets do irrational things. Could they force Ripple and put pressure on them to get the XRP? Possibly. But I think what's best for you as an XRP owner and a participant in the network is if this escrow gets distributed to incentivize the network participation and the adoption. Now, we haven't seen FLR go live yet, but once they do, the F assets are going to be everyone's going to be rushing to mint F assets because you're going to earn all this yield. Now let's go over here to the FXRP utility diagram. Now, I showed this a couple episodes back in the FLR series. And what this shows is how you could earn general rewards in Spark just for minting your F asset. So anyone who mints F Bitcoin, FLTC, FXRP, FDoge, you're going to earn this Spark every day just for doing that. And then you'll be able to utilize that, say, FXRP in another application and use it while you're simultaneously earning the Spark rewards from the general rewards pool. So once we start seeing the XRP ledger's decentralized exchange used, we're going to start to see how that escrow then could be utilized. We just don't know enough about what the plans for the XRP ledger are, and if there's going to be other applications built on top of them, say by PolySign, by RippleNet, RippleX, say automated market makers and liquidity pools, and it would incentivize some type of behavior, and then the reward with XRP. Now, XRP, unlike a lot of these new DAO tokens, already has tens of billions of dollars in value in market cap. So when you're incentivizing with a top crypto asset, it's going to drive demand from outside of the ecosystem. And more people are going to come in because now, instead of just holding this asset to use it or to gain capital appreciation, now you earn yield. Earning yield is the third factor here that is not scarcity and it's not utility, it's yield. That creates the storage demand and it spins the flywheel faster, faster, and faster. And Ripple wrote in their little flywheel PDF, boosting with digital assets. Well, how do you boost? You boost by driving more and more incentives. And this is token engineering. So this is why Ripple has held that escrow back for so long until the time is right to distribute it in a way to boost the network and to help RippleNet as well. We don't know exactly how it would be used. We don't know if it would be for retail and institutional. Most likely, it would be for the whole ecosystem. And these networks are meant for institutional and for retail to utilize. Not just one, not just the other. And where Ethereum, for example, is just all retail. Institution's not going to build on something that has crazy high gas fees like that and uses proof of work. Bitcoin blockchain is just not possible to build on because of its infrastructure. So there could be other ways the escrow is used, possibly even on Flare. Like if RippleX builds this collateral deposition application on Flare that mints a stablecoin, that escrow could possibly be used to incentivize certain behaviors. Ripple does not need to sell the escrow to be profitable anymore. They could IPO and raise tens of billions, if not $100 billion in the future. So they don't need to sell that XRP. They also don't need to hand it over to another entity. So the best solution here is to distribute it to the network participants and to incentivize behavior participation on the network and behaviors that grow the ecosystem and create more liquidity and more adoption and also sustain a higher price. That's the key. If you offer yield, those who own XRP, even if the price goes up, you're going to hold it. Just like with fxrp, you're going to gain yield every day on the Flare network. So even if the price goes up, you're still earning yield. If it goes down, you're earning yield every day. And then you're also utilizing it in an application. Just regular XRP does not have those two things. And that's what fxrp is going to give you. And that's with the Spark as rewards. But now let's add in the XRP Escrow. Imagine putting that into this whole ecosystem as like a final piece to drive that flywheel to spin so fast and pull in all the value from outside and keep it in there. And it's boosting utility, it's boosting value, and it's boosting adoption and demand for the asset. And it drives the overall value of the protocol underneath it. That's where the value of these networks are. Value is in the protocol. And that escrow distribution would be part of the protocol. I'm Mickey B. Fresh, and I'm out.